Today we're going to be taking a look at the 4K UHD Blu-ray release of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The most important factor of any home movie is the print quality, and although you can't really say that a disc is print quality, the picture quality I still feel is the most important factor. And really the whole home movie market was kick-started in 1977 with the Super 8 releases of extracts from Star Wars on Super 8. This is the second 400-foot reel, which I think came out about 1981-82. That was hugely successful, and the second extract actually came in the scope format, which meant you got the full width of the image, which is even more impressive. That was followed up in 1982 by a Laservision release of Star Wars, which is in the 4:3 aspect ratio, but Laserdisc, this is where DVD came from. This is an analog disc. The DVDs that followed were of course digital, but later on Laserdisc we did get digital sound. So that's largely where DVD and what we now have with Blu-ray and ultra high definition Blu-ray comes from. The ultimate Star Wars collectible followed in 1989, and that's the Duran release full length of the scope stereo Star Wars, which many collectors now do regard as the ultimate Star Wars collectible, as I say. We've enjoyed Blu-ray releases, other Laserdisc releases, DVD releases, even VHS releases, but I don't think anyone's really kept those. Unfortunately, every version that's come out since has been the reworked Star Wars, whereas the original Super 8 one there is the original Star Wars as it went out in 1977 and 78, so hugely collectible. So getting back to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, I think it's fair to say that this film is a little lacking in characterization, but if that is a criticism, I think it pales to insignificance when you consider just how technically brilliant this film is. The amount of people involved in this, and goodness knows how much money it must have cost to make, because I have to admit, when I first watched it, I didn't enjoy it too much. I thought I was looking at all the digital cartooning that goes on in modern filmmaking, and I was really surprised when I watched the bonus disc to find that most of what I was looking at was actually done on set. And in particular, there's one little character called Babu Frick. I don't know, he must stand about this tall, and I thought I was watching a bit of cartooning, a bit like Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Mary Poppins used to be done, you know, with the cartoon characters only more realistic. And it was a real surprise to find that they not only built this puppet, but his face with all the movements, his tiny little face, everything was done electronically via radio control. And Shirley Henderson, who was the actress who did the voice of Babu Frick, she was actually operating the radio control for the mouth. So as she was speaking with this amazing voice from this creature, the mouth is moving, and there's one lovely sequence on the bonus disc in the main documentary, which is a major production in itself in my opinion. It's called The Skywalker Legacy. There's one lovely scene where director J.J. Abrams really cracks up. He's hysterical, he's holding his nose, he can't stop laughing at some of the things that Shirley Henderson is doing, and that really is a wonderful sequence. And given what I learned from The Skywalker Legacy and the other documentaries on that disc, I wanted to have a second look at the film because I thought I'd appreciate it more, and indeed I did. I then looked at the film in a different light, and I just thought it was great. You know, there were some great characterizations in there if you look for them. There were some really good gag moments in the Star Wars tradition. A lot of the old stars are in it. Even Harrison Ford appears, although he's not credited. It's not quite a dream sequence, but it's in Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver. It's in his head, and either he's imagining it or he's looking at the ghost of Han Solo. I don't know. Mark Hamill is in it as the ghost of Luke Skywalker, which you would really expect. Carrie Fisher is in it, even though she's not really in it. They used unused footage, 35mm film that they shot during The Force Awakens, and they reworked that so she appears in the frame. And there's a couple of places where that does look totally realistic, and there's one lovely scene in particular where one of the rebels comes over to her and is being a bit negative, and she asks him to be a bit positive, and he then goes into a positive frame of mind, and that works really well. It's lovely to see. So even others like Ian McDiarmid, he appears as Emperor Palpatine back from the dead, or is he a zombie? I don't really know. And also, and I think Star Wars fans will love this, Wedge Antilles appears in the form of Dennis Lawson in the same outfit that he had when he was in the Snowspeeder or the X-Wing. He just looks a little older. Unlike me, of course, I look just like I did in 1978 when I saw the film when I was 13 years old. I expected at least one sequence on this disc to be in an IMAX format. It was shown in IMAX theatres, so I expected there would have been some of it was filmed with an IMAX camera, but it looks like it was filmed with a Super Panavision 65mm camera. So we've just got the 2:3:5:1 sort of letterbox shape all the way through it. But I believe the 65mm sequence, or at least one of them, is the end battle sequence, because the picture quality in that was stunning. In fact, it's pretty exceptional picture quality all the way through. But there were a few grainy sequences in the 35mm scenes, the darker scenes, and that's something I've experienced on other 4K discs, most notably recently Mission Impossible Fallout, a Tom Cruise film, which is another great UHD disc with some genuine IMAX sequences on it. But the darker scenes in that, shot in 35mm, had the same grainy effect, and I think that's because we're losing the knowledge of how to light a set for film, because video has been predominant now for at least 15 years, and I think the people who light the sets are maybe lighting it for video and not realising that film is not quite as sensitive and it needs more light to be able to pick everything up clearly. That's what I think is happening. If you think any different, please leave a comment in the section below. So after I ran the UHD disc, I thought I'd take a look at the UHD disc. I thought I'd take a look at the Blu-ray. It's the bonus disc, that's the Blu-ray. How does it compare to the UHD? And my first impression was that it's better. And I didn't really believe that, because this was mastered in 4K when it went out to theatres, for those that weren't lucky enough to see it in a 70mm print. So I thought it's got to be the HDR setup on my equipment, and I have had this before with HDR, that some films look better with it, some looks better without it. The sequel of the Blade Runner a few years ago, 2049, is one that I find better without the HDR on. But I went through all the HDR settings and I got the HDR looking better on this title. And when I ran it again, it was indeed a lot better second time around, so you may find you have to play around with that. The audio on the 4K disc is Dolby Atmos, and I think it's probably just about the best sound I've ever heard on any film. So if you've got a surround sound setup of any description, I think you're going to be impressed with the way this sounds. So I got my copy from HMV. The stores are all closed at the moment owing to the COVID-19 lockdown. But I like to support HMV because they're just about the only home movie and music shop left on the high street. So I'm using their HMV store online, and besides purchasing that, they have some very good 4K UHD disc offers at the moment where you can actually get 2 for £20. And one of those I got recently, which I will recommend, is In the Heart of the Sea, which has got a very good HDR transfer on it, and you will certainly notice a difference on that between the Blu-ray and the 4K. And they've also got some very good Blu-ray offers. They've got 2 for £12, and this is a 1977 film, Damnation Alley, that I can heartily recommend. Great transfer from a 35mm print. Get a Blu-ray and a DVD in that. Transfers a little too good in places actually, because the special effects, a lot of them do look like special effects, because got a bit of a dupey look to them, but a very good release. So if you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. There are going to be a lot of good 4K releases coming in the future. I would like to bring you some information and reviews on those, and hopefully explain just why some of these titles look better than others. And to summarise that, really, it comes down to the film or the video cameras that are used. Basically, the bigger the format, the better the picture quality, and even though these are going down to video and onto disc, if it's filmed with the best quality possible at the start, that should then translate to what we get for the home on our 4K discs. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll join me for the next video. Bye bye for now.